And here we go. This is the start of book 2 from the Lobe of Pliny's Letters, which I haven't read. I read book 1 last year. So, see Plinius Septico Suo, which in English is to Septicus Clarus. In ita commode expliqui. So here's the verb expliqui. It usually means to unfold or explain. Here it looks like he's had a commodious journey. So he's about to tell about his good journey that he's had. Except with the exception, so it was very commode, it was a good journey, except that quidam, certain people, ex meis from my group, adversam valetudinem, they had some bad health, which they had contraxerented from the ferventimus aestibus. This is the superlative, the extremely hot heat. So it was a good journey, except that some people got sick because of the extreme heat. Enclopius, this would be a person. Quidam means indeed or even, not to be confused with quidam. He was a lector, so he's the reader in the group, it looks like, from Pliny's group. We have illi, siri, nostra illi, so they repeated illi twice for some reason. So, for us in our serious times and in our delicate times, it looks like. Delicate is the type of pleasures and so he reads in serious things and pleasures, it looks like. Exasperatus forcibus, so his forcibus or his jaws or his throat, we have an English word, something like that, exasperated or something, I think we have in English. So he was re-icketing, he was coughing up or spewing up, sanguinem, which is the accusative, blood with pulvere, with dust. So it looks like his throat was very scratchy or something like that, but he was spitting up some blood and put that together with some of the adverse health that people in his group had. Quam, this would be how triste, how grim or sad. Hoc, this will be ipsi, for himself. And quam again, how acabum, how bitter. We might want to say this is mihi, this is the dative for him, and this is the dative for me. So how sad this will be for himself and how bitter for me. See if, this is explaining why it would be grim or sad or bitter, if he is, cui, the dative, to who, omnes exstudius gratia. So gratia, he would be thankfulness and pleasures. Omnes from studius would be from these recitings. We know his work is to be a lector to read. So it looks like if it will be inhabilis, which means difficult or hard to handle, looks like he wouldn't be able to do his work. For it's just the ending verb from sum, and we have studis twice, and we've seen illi up here twice. So I guess Pliny likes to repeat things, but how sad this will be for him, how bitter for me, if to him who all his work comes and pleasure comes from being able to do this job or something you might want to say. Same as I have a daily dictionary word with inhabilis, difficult to handle, not fit or awkward. So this could be awkward for him not to be able to recite things. Anyway, back to the plots. Quiz. Who, they and they then, meos libellus, my little books, sic thus will legit. So who then will read my little books? And a bit, the future again, whom will love them thus. Quam, whom, mea ores, people have 2 ears. Who will my ears? Sick again. Sequento. Who will my ears follow? So he's doubled up sick here. Looks doubling up words, doesn't he? Sed de laetoria promittat. So the de are the gods, but the gods promise laetoria, happier things. Stetit the sanguis. The blood is stopped. Status from stood, but it's not leaking out his nose anymore. The dolor, the pain, has resetted. Pain settled down. And praeteri, besides, is continens ipsi. He's controlling himself, containing himself. I guess he's not too worried. And nos, which means we are soliciti, we're a bit anxious. And the medici are the doctors. They're diligentes. They're diligently doing their jobs. So it looks like it will be a happier future, which the gods are promising. Ad hoc, and to this, the salubritas caeli, the health-givingness of the sky or the climate, and the successus, which is a bit of a retreat, Quies tantum salutus quam oti policientur. So the rest is promising as much of salutis or health as the oti, the leisure time. So we've got some good things going for him here. Basically, the climate there is really good, and just these nice quies. That means he's having rest. It's giving to his recovering as well as the oti, which is sometimes translated as holiday, but it's just the spare time. And then when C. Plinius Calvisus Suos. So he's writing to Calvisius, and he says, Ally, other people, profiscantur, they set out in with the accusative towards their estates or their farm, their pradias, ut, with a purpose, so that they revertentors, they come back, locupliors, more richer. But I, ut, so that porporia, this is a comparative, I come back poorer. Venditoram, as we know, vending is selling. Vindimus, this is his grapes, probably for wine. So his harvest of wine, curtatum adverb. People were contesting for it, curtatum. Okay, so I sold them. It looks like to the negotioribus imentibus. Imentibus means they're buying. Negotiors are businessmen. So these are people who buy grapes in vindimus for a living, I'm guessing. So I sold them to these people, and they were contesting for it. Invitabat pretium, so the pretium is the reward or the price he would get for his grapes. It was invitabating, it was inviting or a pleasant sort of price. And quod tunc, and what was then, and quod fore, and what would be in the future, videbatur, and what seemed. Okay, but the spes fulfill it. I'm guessing the hope that these buyers had was deceiving, fulfill it. It's a reduplicated perfect. Erat expeditum. Erat means it's in the past. So it would have been expeditum, unencumbered, you might want to say, or easy, for omnibus, for everyone, to remit, to give or conduct myself with equalita. Equalita is in the ter family of adverbs. So it would have been a very simplest way to deal with everyone, equalita, on the same sort of price, I'm guessing. Sed non satis equum. So we've got equalita with equum. But not satisfactorily enough, fair. So it would have seemed fair to give them all the same price, but this would not be fair enough. Autem, however, or moreover, mihi for me, vidator, it seems, egregium in primis. So in the first sort of place, it would be the very special way of doing things, or the highest priority maybe. So ut that forus ita domi, which can normally mean abroad or at home. It probably just means for outside of his own goods that he's dealing with, as to the ones he does with his own. So domi would be his own goods, and forus would means as he's dealing with others. So ut in magnus ita in parvis, so that to do the same in the small things thus as I do with the small, which does seem rather fair. And so that in alienus, in dealing with others, ita thus in suus, in regards to my own. So this is echoing the forus domi. Here he's got alias and suus. To agitar, to conduct myself, justitiam. So they have the same justice, you might want to say, or the fairness in dealing with others as I do in my own. Nem si paria, for if it's equal, peccatas, these are sins or wrongdoings, pars etiam laudes. So everything's pars, as we know, pars means equally the same. The same in wrongdoings is the same in things that are to be praised, which I'm pretty sure that is a Stoic quote in translations. Number 3, or line 3, itaque. And so, also accordingly, quidem indeed or even, omnibus, for everybody, ne quis, lest anyone, and here's a quote, mihi non donatus abrit. You might think this is a normal dative, but it's actually, I don't know if it's a dative or disadvantage, but no one should go away, abirit, without having a gift from me. not given the gift to me, but taken the gift away from me, which is a quote from the Aeneid, and ne quis is the singular, and abiret is the singular. And so to everyone, so that no one should go away without a gift from me, a partem octavum, so it's an eighth part pretium of the price, quo quis emerat concesse. So concesse, I conceded an eighth part of the price to anyone, quo quis emerat, who had bought something, and deinde, and then or next to is those people, qui who had occupaverented an summus amplissimus, a more fuller or a larger price in their emptionibusses, in their buying. I consoloid, I had a special plan for them, separatum. I dealt with them separately, the people who had spent more money, and here's the nam explaining why. For it also, me magus juverent, they had helped me magus more. So the people who had bought more grapes or whatever from his Vendemius up here, they were helping him more because he would have got a greater sum from them. And meis ipso fecurent damnum, so they would have had more damage done. As you know, if you buy something, you say how much is the damage. The damage is would be the loss here, how much it costs. So these people with a more amplissimus summus, they helped Pliny more, and they had done more losses for themselves. Part 4. 4. Igitor. Therefore is to those qui who plurus quam decem millibus emerat, those who had bought more than 10,000 sesterces, ad illum communum et quasi publicum. This bit doesn't really mean much. You've got communum and public, but additi means it's additional, or I added. So those who, they got back their original eighth, the octam, and decimum eos summum qua decem millia accessorat. So anything that went over their 10 million, they got their eighth part plus an additional decim and an extra 10th part. So he's being pretty generous to the big spenders, reimbursing them. 5. Viror ne, verb of fearing, ne in order inverted. So I fear that, expressum, I've expressed this parum badly. Ostendem, I will show this, apertius, comparative more openly, calculo, in its calculation. So it's not a little stone, it's I'll show it in a more clear calculation. Sequi, if there was anyone, forte by chance, who had emerant, who had spent quindecim millibus, anyone who had spent, for instance, 15,000, to these people, it also, they would get octam quindecim millium, they would get their eighth part of the 15,000, and tolerant, they would bear off with them a decimum, a tenth of quinque millum, of 15,000. Okay, so basically from 4 down to 6, it's about how much he's giving them in money. 6. Praetera, and besides, cum reputerum, when I'm rethinking or recalculating, quasdam, certain people from debito aliquam, so certain people, aliquantum means a little bit into their debt, and quasdam and some other certain people had paid something, and quasdam, some people had reposuited or repaid back nihil. So some people had paid a little bit, some people paid something, and some people had paid nothing to him. So the deal had been made before the prices changed, and so the people he was dealing with weren't all, hadn't paid up their amounts. So nequatum, nequaquam, it's got the A in it, means by no means. So arbitra bar, I was thinking by no means it would be verum, or truthful or fair, that quas those who had non-equasit, these who had done equal in their solutione, in their payments, so they're not being equal in their payments, in their fides, in their pledges, and here's himself in this verb, acquire, I fairly paid them in the remissionis with benignitat. Benignitat means kindness. So, in other words, some people paid a lot, some paid a little bit, and some paid nothing. So he thought it was fair not to use the same kindness to these people who had made their payments because they hadn't paid out in accordance with the deal in their fee days. 7. Rursus. Again, ergo, therefore then, isque. Those who had solverant, those who had paid, eos quod solverant decumen. So remisso means I've remitted or paid out to them what they had paid. Solverant means they'd paid a decimum, another tenth. So, it sort of makes sense what he's doing. Those who had paid, he gave another tenth. He's not just for generous reasons, but per hoc etiam aptissime. So this seemed most apt or most suitable, that's a superlative, and to this each singulos one, for in praeteritum, what they'd done in the days of the past, pro quisque merito gratia referre. So he's referred thanks which was merited for each one of these people who had paid up. It was most aptissime. It was a very suitable thing to do, was to pay them. And omnes in futurum, when it come to emendum, to the paying, tum etiam, this even then seemed, vidatur, passive infinitive, a bit of an allurement for them to solvendum, to pay up. So all of 7 here just means he gave those people who had paid an extra tenth. This was good because, they'd paid up, so it was a reward for them, but also it would be a sign in future times when he's dealing with people to get them to pay up for what they bought and actually pay the full amount. That's pretty simple, nearly done. Magno mihi SAU means an either or, usually takes one or a few words. So for me, ratio, this reasoning or method, or this facultas, this ability of doing it, has stood. So he's talking about this is the way he did it, whether it's this sort of method or his own easygoingness, but fuit tanti. This was how much of a worth it was. 4, nam, the tota region, the whole region, and also the novitatis, the novelty or the newness of this remissionis, of his rebates, and the form of it are laudatur, or praised. And ex ipsis etiam, and even from these, quos, which are not one, as Dicketer has explained before, not one pertica. This is a rod or a measuring rod, I'd say. So it's not, he hasn't used one measuring rod, but tractively I've handled this distincte gradatum, with different grades, you might want to say, and not as una, not in one type of way of dealing with people. Quanto quis melior in probia, which is better and more just or upright. Tanto mihi obligata abit. So abit means they've gone away, more obliged, you might want to say, in such a way to me. Expertus non esse apud me, and something in Greek. So they've found their experience, their expertus as they're going away, is that he doesn't hold in equal honour the wicked and the good. And that's it for the day.